Welcome back, everybody, to the GioMoShow, 88.3 FM WXOU, your home for Oakland sports and beyond. On 88.3 FM, we now venture into the beyond portion, further into the beyond portion of our show. We covered Oakland volleyball at the top of the show. We did that for about 25 minutes. We then went into the USPBL, United Shore Professional Baseball League at Jimmy John's Field. Talked about the Week 5 action that just passed, and the current standings. How my Diamond Hoppers are still on top, but the gap is closing between them and second place. So we talked all about that. If you missed all of that, don't worry. The podcast will be uploaded soon after this show here, and you can go and watch that yourself on the YouTube channel, the GioMoShow YouTube channel, or wherever you get your podcasts is where you can find the GioMoShow. But to wrap it up here, I want to talk about the NBA. And I want to preface it with preface it with this. I'm not the biggest NBA head. I'm not the biggest basketball head when it comes to strategy and technique and roster construction and game plan. That's not my bag, baby. If you want that, Jake's Takes, a podcast from Jake Masucci, one of the managers of Oakland University men's basketball, now going into his third year in the manager's spot. He's got Jake's Takes. That's his podcast. He talks all about the NBA. He knows ball. So if that's what you're looking for, go to Jake's Takes. But for those sticking with me on the GioMoShow here, I like to talk about the NBA in terms of optics and in terms of what I see as a distant fan, because I feel like there's a lot of people that are in that realm and universe as well. We don't watch every game, and especially when you're here in Detroit, there's no reason to watch the Pistons. We'll talk about the Pistons and Monty Williams a little bit after we talk about the Celtics win the championship here, but there's not much to watch here, so naturally I'm not as in tune with the NBA as I would be otherwise. And luckily for the NBA, I haven't been tuned in for 15 years because the Pistons haven't been good that long. But hopefully that changes. So I want to preface all the NBA talk with that in mind, because I want to be honest with you guys. I'm not trying to pose as this big basketball guy, but I'm just going to give you what I see from the little bit that I've watched and seen and have heard and reading. So when it comes to Boston winning the championship and kind of talking about the playoffs as a whole, Boston winning, yeah, it's okay. It's fine. Everyone hates Boston. I don't like Boston in particular, but for them to win the championship, it's kind of the most boring result. Because all season long, it's just been, wow, Boston is buzzsawing everybody. Wow, Boston's roster is insane. Wow, they're going to kill everybody. And you know what? They did. And it was just a foregone this was truly like a season that felt like a foregone conclusion from day one that the Celtics were going to win the finals. And that's exactly what happened. Unfortunately for me, I don't find that very interesting in terms of entertainment. I hate, that's one of the biggest things in sports for me, is I hate knowing the result before it happens. The most interesting thing about sports for me is not knowing what the result is. Not knowing who's going to be the big star, who's going to step up, who's going to guard this person. Is it an even matchup? Is it a fight to the end? Do you not know? That's where sports are interesting. That's where sports are at its peak. When you got Boston buzzsawing through the East, and I'm not saying I saw this coming, but buzzsawing through the Mavs in the finals, that was pretty boring. It's not interesting to me. They had just the best team with the best players and the most amount of best players. Their roster was loaded with Porzingis and Drew Holiday. By the way, Drew Holiday winning a championship with the Bucks and the Celtics after his first year being there. That's awesome. But Drew Holiday, Porzingis, Derek White, those aren't even their best players. You got the Jays. So it's like that. The roster was just like this absolute juggernaut, and the Mavs did not have that kind of roster. So it was just after the first game, you're like, okay, it's done. And especially like when it's 3-0, it's like, okay, this thing is wrapped up. I didn't tune in for a second of Game 4 because not a single team has ever come back from 3-0. So effectively, the series is over in 3 games, which completely sucks. It's so boring. The NHL Finals, what's the matter with me? The Stanley Cup Finals are that way too. You know, the Panthers are up 3-0, and the Oilers are trying to make a comeback there. So at least that one's at least becoming a little bit interesting. But you just knew with the NBA Finals that it's just Boston's going to buzzsaw them, and they're just going to win it in Boston, which is where they should win it. You know, a 5-game sweep was what the doctor ordered. You got to win it in Boston, or else it's just kind of lame to win it and rub it into into the few fans that are left in an opposing stadium. That's boring. So I like it that they won it in Boston, but it's just this held no entertainment for me. Opposed to like the first game. It was just the Mavericks could not keep up. And you know what? I don't know if anybody could have kept up with them. Just because of that enormous roster. So it was the foregone conclusion. You ran into a good team in the finals. I'm not saying that the Mavs were perfect and would have won it any other year. No, but it just happened to run into that matchup. So thus you get the predictable result. I thought it was very boring, and I especially throughout the Eastern playoffs when Boston was mysteriously injuring everybody on their way to the finals. I thought that was really boring too. Every team they played had a star that got injured, and therefore the season's over. The series is over. It's just, it sucks for me. A series is supposed to be a drawn-out, episodic mini, like a TV show. It's like a mini-series of a TV show that you follow all the way along. When they spoil the ending at like the first game or the second game, spoiling meaning the other team either stinks or the other guy gets injured. It's like spoiling the entire show. I don't want to watch it anymore. I already know what's going to happen. There's no more juice. So that was my feeling on this finals. Western Conference was a lot more interesting. The Timberwolves were a fantastic storyline and had a fantastic run, and it was really interesting to see like how they were kind of uniquely designed to beat the Nuggets, but not so much the Mavs. I thought that was super interesting because you really didn't know who was going to come out of it. East was not the same. So Boston wins it, and I have to mention Jason Tatum pretending to not pretending, but him like acting like he won the finals. Everything you've seen from him, media-wise, is just like, it's like he doesn't. It's like Ricky Bobby. I don't know what to do with my hands. He's just saying things that he thinks people would say or have said after they won the finals. We did it! Oh my God, we did it! And doing the Kanye quotes and what they gonna say next, which is what Steph said after he won it. Like, it's like he Googled finals celebrations and practiced that before he went in front of the microphone. It's the most awkward, like, reaction that I've ever seen. It was appalling. It's so hard to describe, but I told my brothers that they feel like this captures it the best. Like, it's like he was acting like he won the finals. It was so weird. And that's part of, like, for me, also a thing with the Boston Celtics is, like, at least, like, when they went to the finals the other year in 2022, they had Grant Williams, who was just, like, the most annoying teammate ever, and you knew he was just, like, blowing smoke up everybody and just talk. And I found him to be a little bit of a character, but the Jays are just blank slates. They are just robots that play basketball, and they're pretty good at it. And that's it. It's like, I got nothing interesting with this team. And they just happened to be the one that buzzed through everyone and won the finals. So, I'll end it on there, but it's just, it was such a disappointing playoffs, entertainment-wise.